We've got a good show, because that's why I think I'm kind of sweet. It's about the truth be told. Now remember, I want to remind everybody that we are dedicated to performance issues here, giving people insights on how you can be your best, regardless of the problems that you might be facing. What the problems you might be facing out there. So I'm going to say again, good morning, everybody. This is 360 Performance at the streaming KUHSdenver.com. You were listening to Tyrese and Sweet Lady a minute ago. We'll be back to some great tunes once we're done with what I have to share with you today at 360 Performance. The truth be told is our theme. We're going to talk about what has been going on. Our world is in all kinds of twists and turns. As you can see over my shoulder, if you're watching the show today as well as listening to it, we're going to talk about voting. Go vote. Get out there and vote. It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I've got some personal stories about that I won't share with you because they're personal. But it's important for you to understand pink. Not my favorite color, but definitely connected with the breast cancer awareness for the month of October. Be aware of that. Share your thoughts to those you care about, and be aware that that's a big issue for the women in your world, breast cancer awareness. But we're going to talk a little bit about also the truth related to college and professional sports. I've got my Titans shirt on this morning. Music City. This was back in 2018 when I was at the NFL Combine, and the Titans hosted it down there in wonderful Nash and Music City. Well, they're postponing a few games. Their interactions with the Minnesota Vikings, and then a few staff and players in the Titans tested positive for COVID. That's not good. That's not good. One more example of the things that are in our way. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the Big Ten, the Pac-12, deciding the Mountain West, deciding to let's play ball. Depending on who the conference is, will determine whether it's mid-October, late October, maybe 1st of November that they're going to start. The issue is about competing, letting the players take the practice, the modified practice they've had, in some cases no practice at all, just work out and be healthy, take that forward and bring it into the competitive space. Because ultimately, that's what coaches and players want to do, is compete. Practice is great, but we want to compete. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to bring some truth. Coach Whiteman is going to bring some truth. So as I do that and say that to you, get ready for some great comments about that. If you have anything you want to share with me, look at Coach LKW on Twitter. Share your remarks there. Also go to our website, 360 Mindset. That's 360mindset.com, and check us out. All right, so every Monday we have a mindset moment, and this Monday was no exception. We quoted Oprah Winfrey, and it's about being a jerk. Well, there's the quote right over my shoulder, and the quote goes like this: you're either humble or you're not. If you're a jerk before the fame, you just become a jerk with a bigger spotlight. Whoever you are really comes through once the spotlight is put on you. Now, look at, you can train yourself away from being a jerk, because fame doesn't mean you turn into one. Humility, the combat against being a jerk, being someone who's self-centered and selfish, not self-aware, can be taught. Humility is something you can learn. Now, with that humility, if you see those jerks out there, I'm asking you to do this. Vote, vote, vote. November 3rd is coming up quicker than we think. Been a few changes to that mindset recently. As of like 12 a.m. Eastern time today, there's been some changes. As you know, POTUS 45 is tested positive for COVID, is not just showing symptoms, but is really feeling them. As is his First Lady. Fotis is also feeling the discomfort. She's tested positive as well. So regardless of where you fall or how this information alters your point of view or your mindset, vote. Be part of the process and get out there and vote. and learn about the humility of who you are and practice being your best in that effort. So, that being said, let's switch to some sports. Last night we had our first win, not just for the Broncos, but also for Brett Rippon. His first win as an NFL quarterback. And he won it in wonderful shape. 37-28 was Rippon's first NFL win. We, the Broncos, are 1-3 as of last night. Or sorry, 1-2 after 3 games, which is not too bad, but not very good. Let's see how we do the rest of our schedule. It's a little bit trying. Interesting enough, I don't know how many of you know this, but Adam Gase was the head coach maybe I was prophetic there, and not was, but is, at least not as of today, or this moment, he's not was. Been some speculation about that with Adam. Adam is an awesome offensive mind, and apparently New York Jets fans and ownership thought that we should be doing better on the offensive side of the ball. So Adam is, it was tongue-in-cheek, okay, people. I said Adam Gase let the Broncos win because he feels so good about his experience as a Broncos coach in the past. He was with us for a lot of times. You know, Peyton Manning was his quarterback when he was quarterback coach, and then he became part of the offensive coordination process with the Broncos, and we won a Super Bowl 50, as you might recall. So I don't think he let us win, but it just sounded good when I wrote it. It's really something. I personally credit the Broncos win to the defense, even though we had some great moments by Brett Rippon in scoring with his passing capabilities and seeing the field. But the defense really came up big in making plays towards the end of the game. And that essentially is what needs to happen when you've got a close contest there. Regretfully, the closeness became apparent to us when Brett threw an interception. I was talking to our wonderful GM and owner, Henry, this morning about, we in the television audience, we saw the 3 defenders around Junie that wasn't there, but Patrick, he changed his route when his man left to go cover Junie, and in the Peyton Manning day, Manning would have seen that shift before throwing the pass. It would have caught up with Patrick in the deeper route, but he didn't, and then regretfully there was an interception and a score. But all good things in time. Brett's a good kid. I remember working or talking with him when he was at Boise State, the Bluefield Boise State Stadium. They are also Broncos. And Brett's a good kid. He's a smart kid. He did some really good things, but he did some rookie things as well. So good thoughts. Keep a good thought, because the truth be told, he will make it a competitive setting with his peers on the quarterback crew for the Broncos. We'll see what happens. But if you notice during the sessions in between defensive sets versus offensive sets, and Brett sat down on the bench back there, Locke and Driscoll, the guys are around. They're chatting it up. They're sharing ideas. It's a great camaraderie there. Three young men who want to be the starters, but know that each one of them will compete in their own right to make it happen. So, interesting stuff here. For those of you who don't know, the face that's over my shoulder, that's Doc Rivers. Well, Doc Rivers was fired. He was let go from LA. Not Lakers, Clippers. But as quickly as that happened, so did his being hired. And I think a team that I've watched the Philadelphia 76ers for as long as I can remember. In days when another Doc, Dr. J, was on that team, and they competed with the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics and the LA Lakers for positions in the finals or the playoffs. And it's interesting that at this time, Doc Rivers has been tapped on the shoulder to take up leadership as only the coach. He is not going to be in a position in the executive office as he was at LA. I believe, and I've shared this in the past, that was a mistake. It was a distraction for Doc. Doc is and should be always a head coach. His mindset, his demeanor, is related to that. If there's any skill set about him being an executive that needs to be brought into the huddle, into the practice sessions, it's those organizational skills, those mentoring skills in the team that he needs to bring back, accentuate, and with bravado, bring back to the team side of being a head coach. And I think he's going to have some success with the 76ers and the crew that they have there, the kids that are there and the coaches that are there. And you know as well as I do, Doc's going to bring in some of his own folks to impact and put a mark on that Philadelphia 76ers team. But I think this is a good move. I think the 76ers are opportunistic in a good way in picking up Doc Rivers. So take a look at that, because the truth be told, with Doc Rivers, the 76ers are going to compete regardless. They're going to be playoff bound. I'm not going to hesitate here in making my prognostication about this. I think the 76ers will be a participant in the playoffs next season. That quick. I think Doc will have that quick of an impact on the 76ers. And I say that because I know a little bit about the talent that's there, and I know that the front office, well, I shouldn't say I know, I hope the front office, the leadership with the 76ers will let Doc do his thing and make the team his team. But we'll wait and see, won't we? We will wait and see. So before I go any further with the formality of the show, let me just share with you again, go and vote. You're listening here today every Friday, 11 o'clock. 360 Performance. Share with us your thoughts at Coach LKW on our Twitter feed, or 360mindset.com is our website. And run your comments back through KUHSdenver.com. We've got plenty of resources for you to hook into us, share your thoughts. If you disagree, bring it. If you agree, bring that too. I can always enjoy, I will always enjoy those compliments that you share with me. But bring those thoughts forward as soon as you can, so that we can give you some insights on the next shows, and maybe we'll highlight something that you said to us. Bring that forward if you would. All right, so who is playing? Who is going to play? We know that the NBA Finals, we got a game tonight, game 2. People are saying the LA Lakers are a lock. They're going to sweep it. I don't know. I think the strength of will, if truth be told, Miami has got some things to share and some statements to be made for LeBron and his teammates. And we'll wait and see. But we'll talk more about the LeBron, LA, Miami thing. But who is playing and for how long is more a college football thing for me. So let's take a look at it. We got a few that are out there that have just decided, oh, let's participate. The SEC is playing, why can't we? Well, Big Ten, they changed their minds. Pac-12, they changed their minds. Okay, here's another one close to home. Mountain West changed their minds. Which one, or maybe all of them, will change their mind again? I guess we won't know that for sure until everything gets started. But then that's a question as well. When is the start? Mountain West, October 24th. You heard it here when we had Joe Parker on here. They had made the decision the night before he was on the show with us. Joe Parker is the athletic director at Colorado State University. And you should know, I have a lot of confidence in Colorado State's approach to keeping players, staff, and coaches safe in whatever the recipe is for participating on the field. And who will be able to show up for those on the sidelines. Obviously, coaching staff and support people will be there, and as well as the players. But outside of that, who else shows up? Administrators, marketing people, scoreboard people, all those kind of things. It's a big audience that makes this happen before you even get into the fan base audience. But we've got a lot of things going on. We've got states that are rising in their positivity numbers. Colorado being one of them for a short period of time. We're now back down to a stable scenario because we pay attention, because of activities like what happens at Colorado State. They have great disease control strategies in place right now, and they set those expectations, communicated those expectations, so that students, faculty, visitors, vendors, everybody that comes on campus clearly understands what their role is and how they should perform that role so that we maintain safety. Now, if you've been following this at all, there is no guarantee. The science is still the science. People will get sick. Now, the likelihood of people getting sick is higher if you don't pay attention to the rules. The CDC guidelines. Wash your hands. Scrub them appropriately. Wear a mask when in a crowded space or indoors. And properly social distance, even when you're outside. Look, there's still a debate about the airborne nature of this stuff being COVID. So when players play, these three conferences that have decided to get back into it and create a season, whenever it will start, October 24th for those Mountain West fans out there. But we also have other ones that have done it already. SEC has been out there. We have ACC has been out there. And then there is the etc., etc. To take a phrase from one of my favorite musicals. Yes, the etc. There's a lot of etceteras out there. Another truth be told, we don't know what the etceteras are. Some of them we're going to get surprised with. Like the etc. that revolves around how far will the numbers go? How much more testing can we get done faster? Let's get that going so that we know. There's no panic here. We're Americans. Step up so that we can participate as a fan in America's games, I should say, because baseball is truly America's game. But football's not far behind. Look, I love it too. I want to participate, and not from my TV necessarily. I love the smell of the arena and being on the sidelines and being a fan. You know, getting my popcorn and my hot dog. I miss that. We are missing that from the baseball side of things. Let's get back into participating. Because as this picture indicates, and that's, by the way, the head coach of the LSU Tigers, how long will it last? How long should it last? Well, whatever it is, right now, it's mask up. Get your mask on and pay attention to what's going on. Now, as a fan, we're not going to be in the stands. And if we are, it's only by maybe a lottery that you participate in. I don't even know what the system is going to be, if they're going to offer a system. And it's going to vary from state to state, maybe within each state. If we go from here to Air Force to participate in a Mountain West game, will Air Force Academy have a different standard of guidelines and expectations of social distancing in the stands than, say, Colorado State? Or CU if you're a fan of the Pac-12? What are the rules? We can handle it. We're Americans. We can handle it. We're not going to panic. It's such an. I'm sorry. I'm giggling. I'm inside, but at the same time, I'm scared to death. I don't want my grandkids to get sick. I don't want my kids to get sick. I don't want my colleagues to get sick. And this is a shameless plug at this time, but I'm going to let you know that, I think I told you this maybe last week too, I got my new mask. See? New mask. Home Depot. Great mask. $14 for two. Washable. The key for me is I found a breathable mask for when I work out. That was difficult. And I have a mask. My lovely spouse made a mask for us. It was very cute. Love it. But the 3 layers of cloth doesn't make it very convenient to breathe when you're trying to work out. So wear your mask. Mask up, people. Home Depot is a good source. It looked economically, it looked like a good price to me. And it satisfied my needs. So mask up. Now, truth be told, there's a lot of different messages out there that are circling around the main message that a lot of us hear on a daily basis is about the pandemic and about COVID-19, or maybe it's COVID-25. I'm not sure which number it is yet. Because, you know, there's this message out there that's saying it's mutating. And it's like the cold, because it's a respiratory ailment. It's going to mutate. As more we discover through testing, we'll find this out, and we can be better at getting a vaccine out there. Well, there are other messages out there like this. 32 days, people, before we have to vote. Not have to. I'm asking you to vote. As the NBA players over my shoulder in their wonderful shirts say, vote. Make a statement towards what you want and the expectations you want to share through your vote. In the state of Colorado, we've got, I don't know, a dozen different propositions that we're voting on from in all kinds of areas of interest. Get involved. Make a decision about your vote. Are you going to mail it in? Are you going to drop it off? Are you even going to get an absentee ballot? And if you're not, where will you vote? Well, the integrity of your vote is supported by the systems that surround it, like mailboxes to drop your mail-in vote into the post office, or the drop boxes that communities are setting up. There are people in our country, I just can't believe this. If you are truly an American, there are certain things we have to agree upon regardless of party affiliation. And one is accessibility to the voting process. Everybody should be truthful about the voting process. Here, NBA players, NBA Finals game tonight. Remember that these young men and the people that support them have been quarantined for almost 90 days just to play a game they love. But in that effort, a lot of awareness is up there. Because look, they're in this quarantine space. They're thinking about lots of stuff. Thankfully, voting. Vote. I hope that once they get done with the NBA Finals, before our election, that they make a statement about drop boxes, mailboxes, places to put your vote. Texas, by the way, is the state, the governor did that. He's removing like one drop box per county. I'm going, what? Some people don't have the transportation to do that. Maybe we'll see scenes of horse-drawn carriages and mounted people on their animals to get to boxes, because that's how passionate they are about the voting process. This just amazed me. When there are some states in the polling places that are some have their polls open now to go vote, early voting in many states around the country. We have people intimidating voters as they're walking to the polling place. In some cases, people are so interested in voting, lines are being created at these polling places, and you're standing in line wanting to do your civic duty as an American, and people are harassing them verbally and physically intimidating them with signage or flags or banners. I want you to notice, I'm not saying who or what. I'm just saying it's happening. It's documented. That's not American. That's intimidation. That is possibly unconstitutional and indictable, depending on the level of the extreme of the intimidation. It's not integrity. Truth be told, it creates doubt and confusion. Not everybody's as strong as me or the people I hang with. I will stand in line for as long as it takes to vote. I have a system for voting because I'm in Colorado. I automatically get my mail-in vote. And the minute I get it, which will be next week, I will be processing it as soon as possible so that it can be recognized and put in the queue to be counted in an orderly, accurate, and trustworthy way. Those 3 points right there are not integrity. They don't represent the humility that I mentioned earlier in the show of the quote by Oprah Winfrey. There are a lot of jerks out there. And even jerks are entitled to their opinion and their vote, because this is America. And the Constitution gives them the right to speak as they need to. But it also gives all of us the right to speak back and to vote and to get out there and do what we need to do. I was in this woman's presence one time but never got a chance to meet her. The notorious RBG. That's a real thing. I have a button that says so. There's a documentary that says so. There are people who say so. Because her integrity and the truth that is told about her, there is no confusion about the truth. There is no questioning the truth and its sources because it's repeated over and over and over again. For me, as a scientist, statistically, when things are said over and over and over again, it just adds to the proof that the truth is real and it has been told. The notorious RBG. And once again, Simple's moving it. Well, here's what had happened again. LeBron James, bring it, son. Now, you might have a disconnect with how he's playing. Look, he's not playing at traditionally historical LeBron James levels, but he is contributing. And here's another contribution that he's made. The imagery, the messaging, using his platform to speak out. This was the day of her entombment and honoring her in Washington that he wore this. This was during the playoffs, not the finals, but during the playoffs. And he was locked arms again, like he was with the voguing T-shirt recently with a teammate that he had put on the doily collar. That was her emblem. That was the symbol of RBG and how notorious she was. Her memory, I hope, will last for many, many other lifetimes through the generations. It's important that she is honored both now and in the future. The future is what she's written, what she's put into paper. A friend of mine said to me, history is one thing based on what people say, but history is absolute based on what people have written. And we have history. We have a constitution. We have a Bill of Rights. We have things put down in writing. That's how we can know to filter what people say in order to determine the truth. Look at what is written about not only our past, but what is written today. I've been watching the documentary on Comey, on James Comey, and my eyes were opened as to who he is and the truth that he told and the desires he had for his position in serving America as a representative of the law. And the director of the FBI helped him pursue the truth of the law, and that people were honoring those truths, and that he told those truths. I didn't realize, because I was being filtered by social media, by the networks. And I'm not saying anything bad or good. I'm just saying I was filtered. What I was determining as truthful was filtered to me. It wasn't totally legit. It didn't fully represent in an honorable way, in a high integrity way, who James Comey is to his family, is to his colleagues. What struck me the most was when he took a trip to the LA bureau office at the request of the bureau chief to share his insights on leadership with that staff there. That while he was there, he was informed through a television monitor that he'd been fired. And then the whole series of events that surrounded his coming back from LA to Washington was turned on its head, was filtered. The truth wasn't being told. They talked about his arrogance, his anger, his disrespect of POTUS, and how he responded. Much of it, in its being filtered, caused a false truth to be told about who he was as a person, and that he was arrogant, and that he was a showboat, and he was always looking for notoriety through the television. Even going back to the day when POTUS called him out in his first 10 days in office and brought James Comey across that Lincoln, well, I don't know if it was Lincoln, it was the Lincoln area of the White House, but it was in a significant room. And then they used it against him. And that wasn't his intent. His intent was to know people and to be of the highest respect for who you are as a person and getting to know you as a person and how you could influence the world in which he rotated in. Truth be told. It's a great phrase, truth be told. Truth be told. So how do you find your truth? I got filtered. I know I got filtered. Do you know you get filtered? Do you know that the stuff you look at, the emails you look at, the Facebook leads you look at, look, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. I want you to look, but I also want you to be aware. Ask questions. Go to 360mindset.com and ask any question you want. Make a comment. Share with me what you believe in. KUHSdenver.com. Do the same thing. We want you to. I hope you hold me accountable to anything I say, because I believe I'm speaking truths. I don't always agree with the way LeBron James portrays himself through the media. I don't agree that LeBron James is struggling and is going downhill. I don't believe that. I think he's in a different place in this year's NBA Finals. I believe his impact on the success of the LA Lakers winning the NBA championship in 2020 is based on what he does on the bench, in the locker room, during the warm-ups and the shoot-arounds and practice. I believe you're seeing the influence of that through the performance of all of his players. That he's given them the opportunity to step up, truth be told. My Gramps told me this: believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. And so send my Gramps. It would have been said, but I said so send my Gramps because my Gramps passed away. He can't speak to me. Well, maybe he could. I'm just not listening from the grave. But that was my little twist of a thought. Send versus said. It's not completely accurate, but it represents what I'm trying to ask you to think about. The truth be told, what is being spoken to you about? You've got to qualify it. We are educated human beings in America. Ask questions. We've got Google, for crying out loud, or any other platform you want to pick. Find out the answers and test the accuracy of what is being told to you. I think that's a civic duty that we don't talk about. It's not stated. It's not written down anywhere. But I think the implication is, with so much information that's coming our way, you need to take a breath. Utilize the tools that you have free access to. Talk to your friends. Talk to people you believe in that have done nothing but have humility with high integrity in their actions, which in itself is a truth, being told through behavior. Just because you hear it doesn't mean it's the only way to receive a truth. You ever heard this phrase before? Actions speak louder than words. Truth be told. But I think there's some merit to what my Gramps sends me and did say to me when he was alive. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Because you've got to qualify what you hear before you can make it a truth and believe in the statement, truth be told. Make it happen for yourself. How do you filter out the untruths? I'm going to use this as a way to segue into a moment of pause and share with you what the next few weeks are going to be about. In the last 2 weeks of the month of October, the 16th and the 23rd, we're going to have some special guests on. We're going to have the new CEO of Denver Film on, and they're preparing for the Denver Film Festival. James Mejia will be here. Brother James will be with us on the 16th. And then the following week, which is the first 2 days of that week, is going to be the Denver Film Festival is going to be starting. I'll have Kevin Smith on, the director of promotions and sales and sponsorship for Denver Film and the Denver Film Festival. He'll share with us a lot of the schedule and the excitement that's going to be around it, but it's a virtual slash, I hesitate to say some contact, because their theater will be open for rental during the festival, so you can kind of privatize a showing of a film. But I tell you what, the lineup of the films are great. One of them that I'm interested in is Greta, I Am Greta. And remember, this is Greta from Sweden, that is that youngster, that high school age young lady who I think she started when she was in junior high, or if not elementary school. Her sensitivity to just, a green life, and being able to have an impact and change our attitude towards things are getting hotter, and we need to. So the film is a documentary about I Am Greta, her journey, her criticisms. She's still journeying. She's still asking people to get involved with greenhouse issues, and what we need to deal with. That our administration isn't all about helping with that. Well, so we're going to have a film at the Denver Film Festival about that. I Am Greta is one of them. We've got some other ones. Another one I looked at is AI Bias. It's a documentary about all the information that comes to us, and it's about the filtering the truth. How do we filter the truth? Or are you just believing whatever you see and hear? There are those who are saying that artificial intelligence programming, depending on who the programmers are inserting programming components that give it a bias. And their example in the documentary is facial recognition software. So we're going to hear more about these movies, both the documentaries, the feature films, and what are called shorts. And it's going to be a virtual festival. In most cases, it's going to be a virtual festival. So we're going to talk about that. So we'll check that out in the next couple of weeks. Next week, I'm hoping to have a representative of the Pac-12, or at least a marketing representative from Learfield Communications, which is also an IMG company, and talk to us about how they're going to cover it. The Learfield IMG group also is the marketing group that takes care of Mountain West Conference as well as the Pac-12. So they've got representatives at CU, and the CU Buffs are going to be playing here soon with the Pac-12 conference and the modified schedule that everybody's got. Mountain West has got a modified schedule. Big Ten will have a modified schedule, along with the SEC, there's games this weekend. Lots of activity in the sports world coming your way. So, truth be told, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's interesting what people's takeaways are from it. But let's look back at the science. We started off talking about the influence of pandemic and virtual, how it creates a virtual world for us. So let's take a look just for a moment about what's a game going to look like. Now the truth is, washing your hands in an effective manner, all the steps, the 20 seconds or whatever the time frame is that you have to wash your hands. Interlock your fingers, get the tops, get the bottoms, get your thumbs, all the fingers, and do that for a series of time. It's that friction, the detergent that's there, that's going to clean away the particulate matter and help remove some of the pathogens that are on your hands. And not just COVID, okay? It could be flu, cold, whatever. But that gets those off there. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means for a moment, and define what the moment is, seconds, microseconds, you're not exposed. You've got some protection there, right? Well, not for long, because it was just soap and water and the agitation. Put something on your hands, a lotion of some kind perhaps, or a hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer with alcohol, when it's put on, the minute the air hits it and it starts to evaporate, you have a very short amount of time of protection. There are products out there that are lotions, and I've told you about those before. That's avcare.com, avkare.com. They have a lotion, a non-alcohol based disinfectant and sanitizer for your hands, a germicidal hand lotion. Cleans 99.9% of those germs, and That list of germs they have includes staph and SIRS and all those different ones, but it also includes COVID. So you have a little bit more protection when you put that lotion on. Because if you only use an alcohol-based germicide and disinfectant, as quick as it evaporates, it only has a matter of seconds of protection. So you find yourself constantly putting on that alcohol-based product, and that can dry your skin out. Talk to some of your nurses and doctor friends and ask them about how they feel about alcohol-based products and how dry and cracked their hands become after a while, especially those who are in the surgical suites or the emergency room areas where there are constant contact with patients. Have you been out much and gone to the grocery stores and been knocked over by somebody who wants to, hold on a minute, sir, you can't touch that cart until I sanitize it. I literally was almost bowled over by a lady who wanted to get there before I did. I take no deference to that energy and that commitment to duty. It was awesome to watch her get involved. But that's the consequences. That is truth based on the science. And let's make sure that you follow that truth. Social distancing, making sure you have spacing. Whether it's outside or inside, it doesn't matter. Make sure you're aware of these things. As I've said before, the pandemic has raised some levels of awareness that are very positive things that I hope we hang on to beyond the pandemic concern. Like the grocery store has never been cleaner. The attention to detail in the restaurants, for those restaurants you could go into and actually sit down, has never been more customer service oriented. I hope we don't lose those insights. It would be great to maintain them as much as possible. So, my last point there on that screen, truth be told, is how do you filter your truth? How do you filter to get to a truth? Science is one way. Not everybody is predisposed to enjoying a thought process on science. Yes, I'm a geek. I'm a geek who loves to be physically active and play sports and compete in my karate. Well, a lot of that's been taken away from me. So as recent as this morning, I had a conversation with some colleagues that are asking me to share some knowledge about truths with young athletes and the moms and dads that help transport those athletes to all the different practice areas, competition centers, and they're asking questions. Well, some of that questioning is about truths that are supported by science. Make sure you focus your awareness on things that you can count on. They're going to repeat themselves routinely the same way. A famous song in a musical, the sun will come up tomorrow. If it doesn't, we got a bigger problem than the sun coming up tomorrow. But that is a truth based on science. Gravitational pull, objects of importance that surround our planets. We've studied it. We know what we can expect. The sun will come up tomorrow. As quickly as and as necessary as it will set as well. Well, recently, here's another truth. I shared a picture recently of the sun at 6:45 in the morning was red. Now, it was red, why? Could I go Chicken Little on it and say, oh my God, it's a red sun, what's happening? Well, when I look at it and I think of the facts, we've had a lot of smoke come through our atmosphere because of fires we have right here in Colorado, as well as the smoke screens that are coming to us when the wind blows the right way from California and Oregon. Obviously, that was filtered. That was a new truth with a new filter. Smoke, which is why the sun looked red. So when you're looking at your world, not just listening to it, but you're looking at your world, what are you seeing? As a parent of a young athlete, as a coach of a competitive athletic team, what are you seeing? Are you putting up an environment and creating an environment that helps manage, if not filter, what's coming at them? Like, are you going to wear masks? When are you going to wear masks? When they're in the locker room, are they wearing the mask? Are you going to police that process when they wear the mask? Because at some point, the athlete's going to say, I'd like to take the mask off. That's why I got this mask. Now, this is for my routine workouts in a health club, because the health club says the truth we have here is, in addition to you protecting yourself, we want you to be aware of protecting others. We don't test you to know if you're asymptomatic. That's why you need to wear the mask, to protect others. So here's what sports teams and leagues have to contest with. Just like the conversation I had this morning with the leader of a winter sport group. Where are we going to compete? And if we have places we can go compete, what are our guidelines for moms and dads and players when they're in the van that transports them? Or maybe we're going to say, no, everybody's got to bring their own kid to the location. We're not going to create a van because that's too close quartered. That's a choice. The science kind of supports either way. But the rule would be you better wear the mask in that particular vehicle the entire time. And guess what? If the van's capacity is 10, we can only take 4. Because that would represent proper social distancing within that vehicle. And we will be taking your temperature before you get into that vehicle, so that we know the truth about who we are inheriting. We're going to measure with a thermostat, a digital thermometer, to know what that's all about. You get the sense here what I'm talking about? It's not just about CDC guidelines. It's about how you're going to apply those CDC guidelines in the various environments you're asking those athletes to go into. It's not easy, truth be told. It's a tough scenario we're in, but not something we need to shirk away from. We're not panicking. We are able to manage and administer guidelines that will allow for practice to prepare properly and then eventually compete. What we also have to realize, truth be told, is we're not going to have as many incidences. We're not going to have as many experiences to compete as we want. So says the Titans. So says some college football games that aren't going to play this weekend because some teams tested positive, and that's not going to happen. That's the truth. Don't fight it. Wrap your arms around it, draw back from it, and prepare again for the next opportunity. And help others to realize the same truths and to get over the anxiety and the frustration, maybe even anger at not being able to compete. Listen, I've got some big athletes, some athletes that are pretty intimidating pieces of humanity. You know, we're talking 300 pounds plus at 6'6" to 6'8", and these are guys that can jump to a 40-inch vertical. That's pretty powerful. Being able to get that mass moving that fast, that quickly, that's power. I still talk pretty strongly to them, but I know how to move quickly. My point is this. We have truths. Are we aware of them? Are we listening to them when we see them? And are we applying them in the proper manner so that we can make decisions on behalf of those we represent, the teams we represent, the players we represent, the communities we represent? Because those communities want to come into the stands as fans as quickly as possible. But that's being limited, as it should be, truth be told, because it represents what needs to happen. Now, part of the reason that or the experience I've had that caused me to create today's show about truth be told was because of what we're experiencing. You know, there are days in the past where I love just talk sports. There's nothing but one after the other. One game, one contest, one athlete talking about what they did, how they did it, how they worked on their intangibles, the leadership about that, coach's influence, all that kind of stuff. All wonderful stuff. But now, the truth is, we're deflected, we're distracted. We've got so many filters we've got to consider before we can even get to the playing field. Don't get me wrong, I love this. It satisfies my curiosity and that squirrel mindset I've got. Shiny things go by me, I'm distracted in a big way. But that's also a warning to you. we have lots of filters that are acting like shiny things that are distracting us from the truth. You need to be humble, not a jerk. As to the quote I gave you earlier about from Oprah Winfrey, you need to settle down and take time to be aware so that you are safely and securely protecting your environment and those who rotate through your environment. Could be family. Could be family who's a team. Could be the team who is your family. Could be your coaching staff. Could be the administrators and leaders within that organization. But you need to be aware. You need to see the details of your environment so that you can adapt and adjust in a way that's necessary to satisfy the needs and goals of those around you. Look, athletes are frustrated right now because they're practicing their little butts off to get ready for something that may not come. They may not be allowed to compete. As I said in the opening, who's going to stop? Big Ten, Pac-12, Mountain West, they said they're going to start up again. Start up modified season. Really? What if science says to you, ain't going to happen? Tennessee Titans competed against the Minnesota Vikings, and they didn't do what they should have done because, truth be told, somebody went somewhere and contracted the virus and then shared it with a number of people. And then that influenced not just the Minnesota game, but influenced another game with another team that has to be postponed and rescheduled for another time. I feel confident and grateful that we can actually reschedule. It gives me hope that we're figuring this out and that we're going to stay true to what we know. The science works. The science is meaningful to filtering your truth, coming up with a truth we can tell and live by. Listen, Dr. Fauci has been talking about the CDC guidelines and how to adjust and adapt those guidelines to your given environments for months. And as a result of the lack of compliance with that, neighborhoods and communities have suffered. In excess of 200,000 lives. It's not right to have that happen when we could have stopped it earlier. Coaching and performance outcomes from that coaching and the execution of the plays the coaches call is what I do. I love that. But it doesn't separate the truth that those actions, those practical realities that I share with athletic teams and athletes aren't also equally important to the communities they live in. You want to win a game? You want to win a battle? Somebody once said that this pandemic was a war. We're fighting a war. I don't see that we've actually participated in this war in a way that we wanted to win it. We did not execute in a way that we really were representing ourselves as a way to win it. Now we are. We're taking steps to do that. Truth be told, is not always positive. It's also negative things, things that represent what you don't want to hear in that moment, because it causes you to have to think about how you behaved. This is the humility part. The jerks of the word continue on their path, and they will suffer as a result. Maybe not quick enough, maybe not as soon as we'd like them to, but just like in a game, if your teammate is not executing a move to protect you with a good block, you will get tackled. If they don't listen to you and what you have to say about how you're running as a running back, and they continue with the behavior, the truth be told, you will get tackled again. That's not a good feeling. But then the other side of that, as they absorb the understanding and use a better filter to understand what has to be done, they will make the block. They will execute in a way that's going to open the gap for you to run through. And then we can celebrate. Those truths, let they be self-evident, as one famous document once said, are there for us to look at and use as filter to get to your truth. So let's take a look at that. Look, I'm coming to you through social media. We are streaming, as we do every week on a Friday here at KUHS Denver. And I want you to know that we work very hard at bringing you truth through multiple medias, multiple platforms. But ultimately, it's up to you to look at all the filters, look at all the resources on the differing stories, and say to yourself, this is the one that I see routine, consistent reporting on that makes me believe, helps me to believe that that is the truth. Here's an example of that. At 12:38 a.m. Eastern Time, it was reported that POTUS tested positive for COVID, as did FOTUS, his wife. Before 6 a.m. Eastern Time, there were social media reports that people were saying that that report at 12:38 was a hoax, was false news. It was only being brought up to discredit POTUS. As it continued on through the morning, doctors, staff, his secretary, his department heads were validating it. Regretfully, that did not stop those other reports to continue. Who do you believe? Where do you discover your truth? Make a decision. I really don't care what your truth is. What I care is how I filter mine so that I can deliver the results that I'm asked to perform on. That's how high-level elite athletes perform. They look at, they feel, they practice what their body can do, and the results they deliver from that effort tells them what to expect. They know in their gut. So use whatever filter you want. Because truth be told, the results are yours. You own whatever results come out of whatever resources and filters you use. They're yours. You created it. There are many ways to get to the same solution. I'm not going to judge anybody about what they pick or why they pick it. Just pick it. Just make a decision about how you're going to discover your truth and filter it to get that discovery. Excuse me. I'm glad to be here. I'm really glad to be here. I found my truth in lots of different areas, and I'm still looking for other truths. That's my truth to be told. Have a great day today. I'm going to get a drink of water. This is KUHS Denver, streaming to you every Friday at 11 o'clock with 360 Performance. Have a great day today.